It's time to grade the coaching staff. No one's safe. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Satishan, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So like this, I've been doing, this is part of the series where I'm reviewing every aspect of the organization of the Toronto Raptors. And today is all about the coaching staff. So without further ado, let's talk Nick Nurse and his assistants. So I graded this season, I think it was A or A minus. And it might seem like, the coaching staff would get the same type of grade, but that is not true because there's few things that we did well and a lot of things that we could have improved on. And that falls on the coaching staff. So the first thing that the Raptors coaching staff did well was defense. Honestly, not having a big man to be able to play the defense that we did play, be competitive against teams like, Phoenix Suns, who kind of flamed out, but they were, a really good team during the season. Dallas Mavericks, Brooklyn Nets, even though they were crap fest, so they still have two superstars, and, all the good teams. And that had to do with our defense because Nick Nurse was able to, throw a lot of things out there that helped us out. Whether it was the 2-2-1, 2-1-2, 3-2 zone, box and one zone, he was able to get us practice on those as well as throw them out to, shock the teams. Whereas when he was doing it in Tampa, he was rather reacting to what the other team was doing rather than being proactive. This season, he threw those defenses out without a care of what the other team was doing and made that team play according to his defense. So that was a really good thing to see. And that kind of taught all the young guys how to play defense and, learn how to, learn our schemes. So that's one positive for the coaches. Now, the second positive for the coaches is the level of chemistry they were able to develop. I think I have to give it to Nick Nurse. He has the ability to get a team to buy into everything and love each other in a way. And he was able to do that with Kawhi Leonard coming in for 1 year and we going on a championship round. And now with these young guys, it seems like he has been able to get these guys to put their egos away, especially for young guys who want to prove a point. He was able to get them to put their egos away, cheer for each other's success. And you could see that with, players jumping up and down on the bench for each other. Whenever somebody was down, you could hear in their interview talking about how these young guys were able to, these young guys were talking to each other and everything like that. And also holding each other accountable, which goes into the third point, which is that Nick Nurse was able to get these young guys to mature far quicker than anybody expected because they were able to hold each other accountable when the other guy wasn't performing, right? And that's something that goes to, the coaching staff. For them to do it in the practices, for them to talk about it in the tape session, all those things matter. And they were able to do that very well because that maturity did show up with most of the guys like Scotty Barnes. When you hear him talk, Precious Achiuwa, hear him talk. And even like a prime example is Chris Boucher, who after a Cleveland Cavalier game, trying to be a superstar, finally understood his role. And he was held accountable by his teammates, by the coaching staff, and he decided to fit into the role that was there for him, primarily made for him. And the fourth point that was positive is that the coaching staff was able to get, like I said, these young guys not only to develop chemistry by putting their egos away, they were also able to help them buy in to the fact that this is a team. This organization is all about the team. It's not about one superstar, two superstars. It's not about egos, none of that stuff. And that showed again, not just in the chemistry, but on the court as well, where the players were sacrificing for each other. Each player was accepting their role, and it contributed to us getting far, far further than anybody else gave us credit that we would get to. Now, what did the Raptors do okay at? I think the Raptors did pretty okay at the half-court offense. I think it was a considerable improvement that I've seen for several years before, DeRozan was a mid-range assassin. The Raptors always struggled with half-court, but it seemed like this year they were able to figure something out. Their half-court offense looked pretty good in most of the games, especially in the playoffs as well. It was just that matter that we were able to generate good shots. It was just that people weren't able to hit those shots. Now, can it get better? Yes, because a lot of the half-court offense included ball handling by Pascal and Scotty, and it turned into a little bit of ISO play. The play didn't develop quick enough. It ball didn't hum as much. So you could say that it was both a positive and a negative, because when the ball hums, if you look at the Golden State Warriors, even their half-court offense, the ball is humming, man. And the Raptors are capable of doing that, but they didn't do it as much. It just turned into ISO. And that has to do a little bit of to do with the personnel, like the players trying to figure it out and everything like that. But it's on the coaching staff to get them there, right? So it's a positive and a negative. Now, we get to the negatives, what we did not do well. Number one is time freaking management. I understand that we did not have the personnel, but it is a coach's job to figure everything out, use the personnel, believe in them to get the best out of them. And it seemed like Nick Nurse didn't do that as much as I would have liked to see that. He did give Sui Mykhailiuk enough chances. Malachi, he did not get enough chances at all. And that led to a lot of minutes for our starting five, which led to a lot of injuries. Because I think it was Freddie, Pascal, all of these guys were averaging almost 40 to 42 points, 42 to 43 minutes game at one point in the season. And it just deteriorated the hell out of them. And that has to do with the coaching staff. They need to figure out with the personnel that they are given. I don't think Sivivi is a garbage player. I think they just need to find him in better spots. I think they could have used Champagne. They could have used Malachi a lot more before he got injured. And, Armani Brooks and all of those guys. They didn't do that well enough, and it led to extreme amount of minutes that the starters ended up playing and led to injuries. So that is a big negative for us, because it hurt us in the playoffs with Freddie being out. OG coming back off of an injury. Gary Trent Jr. dealing with his quad and everything like that. So that's something that I'm really angry about. Now, the second negative for the Raptors, and this is really on Nick Nurse. It's understanding when the hell to call a timeout. It seems like Nick Nurse has this thing in his head that our guys will figure it out, and I understand he's trying to get that for the younger guys to understand, try to break the momentum on their own, get them to believe in themselves, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes as a coach, you just got to call a timeout, bro. Like that, I think it was game 3 or game 6, I don't remember, in the playoffs. The Philadelphia 76ers went on a 17-0 run. Why the hell would you not call a timeout after a 8-0 run, a 6-0 run, a 10-0 run? Why would you wait until a 17-point deficit? I don't get it. And that falls because he's the only one who can call that timeout on Nick Nurse. So he needs to do a better job at calling those timeouts, because he has this habit of letting the game play out, and it puts us in such a deep hole that we can't climb back out of it. Our team is really good at it, and that's something I forgot to say. He got these guys to buy into the fact that we are never out of the game, and our guys were always fighting to get back in the game against the best teams. But sometimes he put us in too big of a hole because he refused to call that timeout. The third negative thing that the coaching staff did was not utilize the Raptors youngsters. I think, and I don't mean Pascal and Freddie are old, but they've had their chances for the past 2-3 years to be, closer and this and that. I would like them to put more belief in Gary Trent Jr. Like for them to put more belief in, Scotty Barnes, letting them take the final shots, letting them be the main focus of the offense. And moving forward, that's something that I think the coaching staff needs to do. Is I get Pascal and Freddie are part of your thing, and they're going to be there. They're going to do what they're going to do. Unless they take a step up in their game, they are stuck where they're at, right? Whereas Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, these guys are killers. I would love to see the coaching staff put that belief in them. Let Pascal and Freddie be all the all-stars they are, but let these young guys be the finishers for us, because they need that for our future. And that's something that I don't think the Raptors did that much this season. It was always about Pascal or Freddie. There were some games that they gave it to Gary Trent Jr., but not enough. Scotty never really got to finish as much. So that's something that I would like to see, like actually like to see the ball in their like these guys' hand moving forward for this, for the coaching staff to do, especially if they're 23 years old and they're going to be our future, right? So that's something that the coaching staff really, really has to improve on. Now, it's not all negative. There was, like I said, there are some positive. There are some, some things that they could have done well. And the last one, again, is kind of like the one I was talking about the ISO. But the Raptors do play a too much ISO. In my opinion, the ball needs to hum a little bit more. That could be on the players, right? They're not passing as much. They feel like they can get their shot and this and that. And the Gary Trent Jr. is a lot to do with that. But again, it's part of the job of the coaching staff to tell the players, hey, get the freaking ball moving and call plays that don't involve ISOs, even if the defense collapses on you and all those things. So I wouldn't put this in the negative. It's kind of like the point I made previously, but it's just something that it falls a little bit towards the negative. So if I had to give an overall grade to the Raptors coaching staff and things that they need to improve on, which is calling timeouts, managing the minutes better, utilizing their bench better, and putting more faith in the youth rather than the guys that might possibly not be here in a year or two, would benefit us. So if I, keeping all of that in mind, if I had to give a grade, I would give this coaching year a C. A C because I hold Nick Nurse to very, very high expectations, and he's done the same mistakes for the past 2 years. I was hoping they would improve this time, like the timeouts, finding another closer for us and this and that, and he hasn't done that. I'm hoping he will do that going forward. He's a great coach. He knows what to call, what plays to call, this and that. He just needs to tweak the few things that are kind of stuck in his mind. And to finish off with this, he also needs to figure out how to utilize his whole bench, man, because those minutes are going to kill us. So that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed that analysis on the coaching staff, the things that they can improve on. If you like the content, please hit that like and subscribe button to the subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in my next video where I start reviewing the players.